Can we start? It's going to be a long class, man. Because finishing personnel administration at once. So basically, what I have done is for every word I have put in notes. Okay, so your work will be easier. But apart from this, the last topic called ethics in administration. There is a subtopic within this. In that, I mean, after your classes, I'll also give you some handouts. Right? You go through those handouts. Certain scholarly articles are written, so you'll get a much more clearer idea. I'll explain you the concepts, but you should go through those handouts because the thing is, now those scholars have written those things. So for me to repeat it in class, I mean, me to shorten it and tell you, it won't do justice to whatever they have written. Okay? That's why I didn't put this in the notes. I was thinking that I'll put the whole thing in the notes, but basically that's a book. Okay, so it would be 15 to 18 pages. So I'll cut that book and I'll send it to you people now, because it'll be much more easier then. Now, what do we understand by personnel? What do you understand by personnel? Staff. Yes. So, who are the people manning an organization? Yeah. I mean, this institution is running. There are a lot of people running this. There is the administrative team. There is the technical team. There are faculties. There are students. There are people who, for example, somebody cleans this. Okay, somebody keeps the lights open. Somebody brings the water. Everything keeps the organization flowing in a good way. So that means personnel means people who are running the show, that humans within our organization. Now, personnel was something, it is nothing new. Personnel, focusing on personnel is nothing new because they are the very element of the organization. Organization is actually the personnel. Now, there are a lot of different descriptions that we'll study in this. Now, starting with, see, especially it's called the backbone of public administration. Now, we have discussed in all of our discussions, we have seen that personnel is somebody, or if the personnel is very casteist in nature, administration will be a problem. Personnel is not very trained, then it's a problem. Everything that happens, if a administration is developed or very rudimentary, everything is about what is the administration. It's the people who are working as administrators, right? There is nothing else other than that. So personnel is at the end be all and end all of administration. That is why personnel, how to manage this personnel, okay, how to keep their motivation up, how to control the personnel, how to make them accountable. So we are reading everything around this. Yes. So here, briefly, most of our discussion will revolve around certain recommendations of the second ARC. From now on, whatever topics we pick, second ARC becomes again the be all and end all. Okay. So let's start with this. Now, personnel administration is basically organization's workforce. Okay. The concept has evolved with time. Initially, it was a mechanistic function focused on administration and control. Now, it has transitioned towards human resource management or human resource development. Now, imagine you are responsible for developing the human resource that run the government of India. Don't you think it's an immense responsibility? The work is significant. It's not like some small offices HR. It's not like that. The scale is huge in nature. So when you train those people, when you see whether those people are working correctly or not, there are a lot of mechanisms that are in place for government to function. So the scale of this function is immense. Okay. So when you develop these functionaries, okay, now the functionaries come. When you ensure that these functionaries are working well, then everything works well. This is what differentiates a powerful state from a soft state. This personnel is what differentiates. Okay. Now, this human resource development. Now you understand that we have come from those personnel administration to actually in day-to-day life, what we see is human resource development. Human resource development is a systematic and planned process of developing skills, knowledge, and competencies of employees and enable them to perform their current and future roles effectively. Now, also apart from this, apart from that ethics part, I'll also give you certain handouts uh, from which questions can actually come. Right? They're not exactly written in the syllabus, but questions might come that how present personnel management system is not. I mean, there are certain limitations in the present personnel management system, and with the coming the rising problems in climate change, artificial intelligence, generative AI, especially that the personnels right now, the human resource right now, does not have the capacity to deal with these problems. Yes. Now, see. Now, what is this objective of human resource development? Why do we want human resource development? We want to build competency, increase their competency, whatever they can achieve. How? Through KSA, knowledge, skill, and attitude. Why? One used to have knowledge first. When working on that knowledge again and again, they develop a skill. And they should have the right attitude to go ahead and do the job. Okay? Knowledge, skill, and attitude. Now, performance enhancement. Now, improve the efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity of both organization and individual as a whole, or individual and the organization as a whole. This shows what? That the individual who is working, they are working in a very in an organizational setup. When you improve the individual's capacity, organizational capacity improves automatically. Then fostering organizational culture, to build a culture of collaboration, trust, and continuous learning. Okay. Here you can write something called changing organization into a learning organization. Learning organization. That you, the organization itself, with the humans working inside it, is continuously learning and updating themselves. The learning organization. And what is the other purpose? Career planning. That how throughout the career that person will go from one place to other. So if you are improving somebody's skill, make them sit there. So that right skills matches right position. Okay, we'll study positional view of personnel management. Then change management. That there are a lot of change that is happening technological. Okay, and a lot of problems are emerging. So those organizational change, everything has to be managed. So change management has to be done through human resource development. Employee motivation and morale. The employees should be very much motivated into doing all kinds of job. Okay? Improving their attitude again, motivation and morale. These all, you understand, it leads to good governance, complex challenges they are able to deal with, citizen-centric service delivery, repetitive stuff. Now let's come to the important part. Yes, you have to write some of their names. Plus, here what I have done is certain theories that we studied. I have also put in their ideas that which theorist will apply in which part. Okay. So, for example, Taylor said that idea that coming together of science of work and scientific worker. So that is also personal management, that you are assigning right worker to the right task. Yes, that is also personal management, things like that. OP Dwivedi, he says, emphasized human resource development is fundamental for creating a responsive, ethical, and accountable governance framework. So, if you want to meet citizen expectation, so this kind of human resource development is important. OP Dwivedi says that. Now, Peter Drucker emphasized something called a knowledge worker. Okay, so in the 21st century institution, knowledge worker is very much important. So you need to the emphasis is on improving that, continuously equipping that individual with new knowledge systems. Douglas McGregor, his theory will also be important. So basically, it's a introduction. So I have put in certain theorists. We'll see how these theorists are very much important. Argyris, maturity, immaturity theories. Traditional organization, these employees were very dependent in nature. Through human resource development, what you are doing, you are making them more and more mature in nature. They are independent, they can think for themselves. Okay? Maturity. And this is Likert system 4 management. Okay, the transition from system 1 to, so that is the organizational development process, he said. So from that, for that transition, this thing is happening. Okay? Satish Chandra committee. So this in the initial phases, these are very old committees. Okay, Satish Chandra committee 89, a very old committee. Basically, they said that there should be a unified civil services recruitment for any kind of civil services. There should be a unified recruitment. There should be a unified body for that. But most importantly, all of these recommendations will be taken up by the second ARC, and second ARC will say, see, shift from personnel administration to human resource management. That you should treat them as a resource, okay? And you have to invest in them to make them grow. So how is this happening? Advocate a fundamental shift from a static, rule-based personnel administration to dynamic, goal-oriented human resource management system. That means proactive management of these civil servants and treating them as strategic assets. So civil servants are assets to the government who can carry out certain activities. Yes. Then establish a National Institute of Public Administration, NIPA. Now this will be a national center for excellence for capacity building, research, setting standards of training across the civil service. Because so there will be a dedicated institution researching it, okay, and teaching public administration. So National Institute for of Public Administration, NIPA, was recommended by second ARC. Similarly, institutionalizing competency-based framework. Okay? This recommendation will be repeated in a lot of following topics. Let's understand this here only. Develop and implement a competency-based framework for all civil services roles. The framework would require specialized knowledge, skill, behavior required for each position, making human resource processes objective. Basically, competency-based framework means anything that is happening inside the administration, it is based on competence building. If you are promoting somebody, that should be competence based. If you are recruiting somebody, competence based. If you are not allowing somebody to work, or you are removing somebody, that should also be competence based. Everything should be based on competency. Okay? Integrated human resource development. The commission stressed that the need to break down silos. So these organizations are working in silos. What is needed is a certain organization sits at the top and commands everybody to how to manage their resources. Yes. Unified human resource development strategy that seamlessly integrates training, performance appraisal, and career progression. And we will see how Mission Karmayogi will do all of these things. Okay. See, here it is. National Program for Civil Services Capacity Building, Mission Karmayogi. Goal is to transform bureaucracy from rule-based to role based. What is the role? Okay, what is basically that management by objective that Peter Drucker said, and goal orientation of bureaucracy. That bureaucracy is not only following rules these days; it is following whatever is needed out of it. Now, Mission Karmayagi will understand it here only, but it will apply in the following steps, following all the topics it will apply. But we'll read this here only, the details. On-site learning to complement off-site learning. So they were going to an institute and studying there. Now, wherever they are working, they are continuously learning through that mobile app. Yes, through that portal. I got platform, using that I got platform, there are curated courses from global and national universities and training institution. It allows learning anytime, anywhere. Then FRAC, framework of roles, activities and competency. This framework defines specific competency, skills, knowledge and attitude required for every single role. For example, a particular post of government requires these kind of competency and roles. Previously, any government servant was put there. Now, it would require a specific kind of individual to only work there, whoever have that set of competency. Then, special purpose vehicle was created to manage the IGOT platform and the content of it. Okay, and to carry out human resource development across India, there is Lavasna, there is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy, there is Indira Gandhi National Forest Academy for IFS service officer. Then there is Institute of Secretariat. So these are different institutes, Central Secretariat Services, things like that, to carry out all of these jobs, to train these personnel. Now see, this was human resource management. Now how it looks like, these are certain small things within human resource management. There are 10-11 points or 10-11 words that are written in syllabus. We'll cover each and every word so that our notes are comprehensive and in one-stop solution we have. Recruitment. It is a foundational process of attracting and screening and selecting suitable and qualified candidates for position within public service. For example, whatever happens through UPSC. Negro, they famously stated that it is the heart of personnel administration, because the quality of public service is directly determined the quality of people who are brought into it. That is why, for a very long time, there is so much trust that people put in the UPSC process, knowing that, okay, this is a very fair way of selection. Merit-based selection happens. There is no, there is no paper leaks that happen. Nobody can go into it through contacts, etc. So this is this trust of public in UPSC is very much important for Indian democracy to function, because whoever is working in the administration, people believe that that individual is very competent enough, and that is why that person is working. So that is the reason why things run so smoothly, because of course there are set of problems that we deal with, but when it comes to trust in the administration, this recruitment process is rarely ever questioned. Okay? That means impartial recruitment happens. Are you able to understand? So the principles. What principles? Just remember, whatever UPSC follows, we just write those principles. Principles of merit is followed. Okay? Objective assessments of everybody that is being applying for it. Then principle of fairness and impartiality. Okay? 3 hours everybody gets to write. Everybody knows the syllabus. Okay? So fairness and impartiality. They do not know the person checking you. They do not know who are you who are writing it. That person does not know which caste you come from, whether you are a boy or a girl, which language do you speak. He does not care. He just sees your answer sheet and your name is not written there. Impartiality and fairness. Principle of representativeness. So There are a lot of reservation that is provided, okay, in UPSC. Why is that so? To make it representative in nature. You cannot make administration a different elite group rather than the society. Administration should reflect the society. If society 80% population are from a particular community, that means administration should reflect it. If 10%, 2 or 3% there are some minority, the administration should reflect this. Why? Because administration should be the reflection of the society. And principle of transparency, well publicized, how things are done, it is shown. Okay, it's very clear. Now, how many types of recruitment happen? One is direct recruitment, external. Whatever UPSC does, it shows, okay, this date exam is going to happen, and directly it recruits. Okay? Open competitive exams, UPSC civil services. Why is it important? What are the pros of this? Infuses fresh blood, new ideas, young people come in, bring their young ideas to the administration. But what is the problem in this? That these people do not have experience. That one is just out of college and goes into this. They do not have any professional experience. They are not very professionals at that time. Okay? They lack any kind of initial training, uh, and they lack administrative experience. They haven't worked anywhere. So, direct recruitment example is a UPSC. What is indirect recruitment? That means indirect or promotion based recruitment. That means internal recruitment. So it is based on, it involves in India higher level vacancies for by promoting existing employees. So IAS is not just taken from UPSC exams. They are promoted through PCS exams also. Whoever PCS officers are working, they are also promoted to the IAS rank. So that shows there is a promotion based recruitment also. You understand? What are the pros? It is a powerful motivator for the lower level employees to work well so that they can reach up. What is the con? It can lead to organizational stagnation. Whatever problems are there in the organization, if you are not bringing in fresh blood, those problems will continue to stay. Yes. And here, the chances of favoritism, patronage is very much high. Patronage is high. Then there is contractual recruitment or lateral entry, as you know it. So there is a specific task we need to complete, and for this, an individual is called, their expertise is seen, and that work gets done. Let's read. See, this lateral entry brings in specialized skill, technical knowledge, and domain expertise into the system. The downside is there is a cultural mismatch. Whoever has worked in corporate, corporate is very result oriented. Fatafat you need to deliver. It works on deliverables, but they get a cultural shock at how slow administration works actually. Yeah? And because and private sector ethics and public sector ethics are very much different. That their mind is very profit making orientation. But the work of bureaucracy is not profit making. It is delivering and ensuring public service ethics is followed. Presently, Niti Aayog recommended that government takes a lot of lateral entrants at the joint secretary level. Okay. So the theorist that you have studied, see, Negro and Negro say it is the heart of personnel administration, recruitment. Weber says what? Weber says, what did he talk about? Legal rational authority. The word rational there shows what? That whoever is competent should be made to sit there. Okay, it's competent based. Similarly, Henry Fayol, he talks about stability of tenure. Okay? So stability of tenure should be there, and that is infused in the present bureaucracy also. There is stability of tenure, so that you know that tomorrow your job won't be gone, so you can plan the job ahead. You do not have to worry about your job. Now, what does second ARC say about recruitment? Second ARC only said we have to broaden the recruitment source, not just only one exam. There has to be multiple entry points and exit points. So the commission strongly recommended moving beyond the single entry point system and actively incorporating domain experts and lateral entrants at senior level of government to fill the skill gap. For example, there are presently a lot of challenging domains that are there. Yes, you bring in people, who are experts on those, and give them a lot of power and authority to make certain decisions. That's how you can make the government very much relevant in the field of changing technologies and changing world. Second, ensuring representative bureaucracy. Second, ARC said it should represent whatever communities it is working for. Third, reforming the exam system. Rather than focusing on cramming up, we should focus specifically on ethical and moral reasoning, problem solving skills, etc. etc. So that is the reason UPSC changed the pattern in 2013. Ethics as a paper was brought in. What was dropped was a optional was dropped, because people were studying the subject and cramming up the subject and writing and passing exams. Their moral and ethical compass was not judged by that. Establishing a apex civil service authority. Now, what does this mean? This authority will not just recruit; it will see all phases from recruitment to retirement. It will see all of these phases. That whether why this person is being promoted, yes, why this person is being transferred. Each and every aspect will be seen by this apex body. Next topic is training. Now, under human resource development, we have seen certain aspects that KSA needs to be developed in public servant. That means skills, knowledge, and attitude. KSA. Now, why do we need training? Straightforward things, very straightforward. Skill, improve knowledge, change attitude, performance improvement, etc. etc. No need for these explanations. Okay. So the main part. What kinds of trainings are there? There is induction training. For example, when you will join the service, there is an induction training for you. You will be trained for a year and a half, and then you will be given assignments and you will have to do the job. So, purpose to familiarize recruits with basic administrative framework, constitutional values, and ethos of civil service. It helps in transferring them from students to actually public servants. Okay. For example, the foundational course for Lavasana is an example of induction or foundational training. That is why it's called a foundational course. Then mid-career training or in-service training. So to upgrade existing skills, introduce new management concepts. So mid-career training are done. Okay. An example of this mid-career training, uh, it's uh, it's called mid-career training program only. There is nothing fancy about it. So it is conducted in different phases, and it is mandatory for them to be promoted to a particular post. So what the second ARC will also say is, you make these training and performance in these training, evaluate the performance in these training, so that they're what do you say? Evaluate the performance in their training, so that whenever they are promoted, their training, their performance in the training are evaluated. Okay? On the basis of the marks they score. According to that, they are promoted. And there are specialized training to improve domain expertise. So, for example, somebody wants to learn things such as counter-insurgency, forensics. So, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, their training happens regarding this. Where do you want to go actually? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Why so? Police. Okay. Father is in police. Okay. Okay. So you really like police. Now, while this training and training evaluation is there, you can use these scholars for value addition. There is a scholar named Kirkpatrick. There are four level model of evaluation. He says. Okay? So this is a globally recognized model for evaluating the effectiveness of training. Okay? How? So, for example, while writing a way forward, you can simply write that this needs to be introduced in our training modules. Okay? So, level one, reaction is seen. How it measures how participants felt about training. Basically, the satisfaction. Basically, it's like a feedback form. Okay. Second, learning measures the increase in knowledge or skill acquired. Third, behavior measures the extent to which participants apply their learning on the job. Assessed through observation and 360-degree. For example, they have learned something. So first, they are seeing that whether they are satisfied with the training or not. Then their learning is checked. Then how they are applying that learning, that is checked. Okay, that is the third level. And results. Basically, the effectiveness is checked. Tangible impact of training on organizational goals. So this is the four levels that Kirkpatrick says. Okay. Now David McClelland, it says achievement motivation theory. He talked about achievement motivation theory, that achievement is a key driver for motivation. Yes. So he says is a key driver for performance. Training can be designed to increase this achievement orientation. That you feel that it is a form of achievement, whatever you are doing, creating a cadre of proactive and result oriented administrators. Again, that Peter Drucker's knowledge worker has come in, whatever we have discussed. Organization to remain relevant and adaptable in changing. Learning and training cannot be a one time event, it should be a lifelong event. So learning organizations are important. Now let's get back to second ARC. See, I discussed this before. Make training mandatory for promotion. It is mandatory for promotion. Link training to career development. Whatever you want to do in your career, you have to be trained in it. You can't simply be, you are only merely an IPS officer and you have only worked in the district. For if you want to go to a work specifically in counterinsurgency, you can't just walk in and go there. You'll have to be trained in it this first. So this is what it says. Develop a national training policy, comprehensive national training policy to provide a strategic direction and framework to train all your civil servants. Really using modern training methods such as e-learning, blended training modules. For example, blended means physical, online, classroom, practical, everything is blended. This recommendation C is now being applied to iGot platform. Okay. OTA committee in 2007, all of these committees were taken up by second ARC only. So second ARC recommendation, that's why it says they're very comprehensive in nature. Before that, whatever committees were there, second ARC writes it down and includes them in their recommendation. OTA committee says a concept called training for result. Okay. Training for result means whatever the training is doing, the Kirkpatrick said that effectiveness should be there, organizational goals should be achieved. So evaluation must shift from mere participation to tangible outcomes that the organization are facing through this. It should be seen. Focus on higher education, emphasizing on experiential and discovery based learning over rote memorization. Basic simulation, case study, etc. This we have done. Attachments. What are these training attachments? Before you are given larger responsibility, you are attached to different institutions. You are attached to an NGO. You are attached to something called armed forces, or in the parliament. Some offices you have. There are different institutions you are attached to see the working of that particular institution. Okay? Now, next topic comes position classification. Now, it's the systematic process of grouping government jobs or positions into classes based on similarity of their duties, responsibilities, and qualification requirements. Basically, you are selected as an IPS. Okay, then anywhere you go, you are an IPS. Any post you are in, you can be a deputy commissioner of police somewhere. Whether you go ahead and teach in the training programs, you are an IPS throughout. Now, the second ARC will say this is a problem because the work you are doing as a DCP is way different from whatever you are doing when you are teaching policing to students. These are very different work. Why should your pay be the same? Or why should the requirement be the same that you should be an IPS? The requirement should not be the same. That means your competencies are very much different when you are investigating something, and your competencies are very much different when you are teaching something. Don't you think so? Now, to solve this problem, second ARC will give certain recommendation. Okay, that is why second ARC is so important. Everything is second ARC from now on. Now, to understand this problem, there are two kinds of classification: rank classification and position classification. Now, you have a rank of IPS. That is your rank. Anywhere you go, you are an IPS. But what is that position of that teaching? For example, professor of criminology, or you want to teach investigation to someone. So that role is very much different than whatever rank you are. Somebody who is not an IPS, so somebody who is an IRS, for example, that person might know lot better investigative methods in a financial crime as compared to you. Yes, that means your rank should not matter. The position should have certain requirements, and if you are competent in those requirements, you should be allowed to do so. That is what competency based framework is. Rather than rank classification, we are going for position classification. This is what second ARC will say. Just a minute. Position classification. Position is the unit of classification. A person is appointed to a specific predefined job. For example, you are a joint secretary of sports. Now, if throughout your life you are posted in an area, especially where your job has been to overlook food processing industries, or you are posted in the FCI, Food Corporation, you don't know anything about sports. Basically, position classification says that if there is a position called Joint Secretary of Sports, only those people are allowed to be there who have worked in their career something related to sports in the field of sports. Okay. For example, you have been managing a lot of sports events as an officer. Okay? Then, if you are a Joint Secretary of Sports, you can enhance throughout your experience. You can add to that job post. Don't you think so? As compared to Food Corporation of India. So it says a particular position should have certain requirements, and those requirements should be fulfilled not according to what rank there is. It shouldn't say, okay, one person is an IAS, any IAS can be made the Joint Secretary of Sports. No. Anybody who has worked in that field, whether it is an IAS, an IRS, anything, a straight PCS officer, if they're very good at it and they tick all the boxes of competencies, you should allow them to do so. That is the competency-based framework that second ARC is recommending. Understood? So this is position classification. So what we want is position classification, but presently there is rank classification. For example, certain rank of secretary, only an IAS can become a secretary. So for example, in the Department of Revenue, an IRS officer throughout his life has worked in the Department of Revenue, knows everything about it. Why does the IRS needs to be secretary of that? An IRS can very well be a secretary of that. So positional requirements are very much important rather than just the rank of it. You understand? Now, why is positional classification important? There is a rational pay structure. If you are working in investigation, but you are working as a professor, your pay should be different, uh, given the importance of what work, whatever you are doing. Similarly, systematic recruitment helps in prescribing uniform qualification for similar jobs. So there should be uniformity. For example, you are teaching a course and some other service officer comes and teaches that course. Their pay should not be different because for that post, the pay should be same. Equal pay for equal work. That is the principle this works on. Then clarity in administration. Exact clarity is there. This is the competency required, and these are the person who needs to work. Effective HR planning. Human resource. You can effectively, one person can plan out his career that if he wants to become that, he has to do these jobs. Nothing is based on luck that the politician will say and you will become that. No. Then there are scholarly views on position classification. See that Frederick F.W. Taylor's, I say, coming together of scientific management or scientifically designed work and scientifically trained worker is one of those examples. Positional classification. Who is fit for the job? And that is the bedrock in which scientific management functions. Similarly, Simon says about rational decision making. Simon advocated for rational. So, positional classification is key tool to matching an individual's capability with the requirements of the role. That is why that person can make decisions in a very rational way. So, he cannot make decisions which are perfectly rational. But to increase the amount of rationality, you have to put right person in the right place. Okay. Then comes Pfiffner and Wittig. So Pfiffner will say this position classification is the cornerstone of entire personal structure. They argued that without logical classification of position, rest of other recruitment process or compensation, training, etc., is of no use because the organization will be chaotic in nature. Understood? Then next topic is career advancement. Basically, what is career advancement? Promotion. That is career advancement. So promotion. What is the key tool? Promotion. How that promotion is going to happen? What did second ARC say? Who should be promoted? Competent. And how this competent? You have to prove it in your training also. You'll have to be trained enough to be promoted. Okay. And this promotion should take place. Promotion will also come in a separate topic. That this promotion should be based not on seniority. It should be based on merit and competence. You will understand. So performance, basically, it's a performance-linked incentive, PLI. Okay? So you must have studied in your GS3 PLIs scheme. Then training and development, equipping employees with necessary competency for current and future roles. Job rotation and lateral mobility. So you have to give the administrators a holistic, broad, experience of how things are done. So to make sure these things happen, you give them different positions so that they have a lot of different set of skill sets. Now, this career advancement and classification, how this works, move to competency based progression. You understand that progression is based on competency, not on seniority, on competency. Create specialist and generalist track. For example, this says there should be a different track for generalist and specialist. How is that so? Specialists are uh, especially scientists, engineers, doctors, economists. These are specialists. Generalists are Indian Administrative Services or the PCS, whatever they are recruited. There should be separate track for their growth. So, for example, an organization like the DRDO. DRDO is a what? Specialist organization. So, therefore, these specialists go ahead and head these organizations rather than a generalist because that person does not know how DRDO functions. He is not a scientific mind. So, these kind of organizations should be manned by actually scientific people, and it should not be a recruitment. It should not be a requirement that uh, specialist should be a should have some experience in generalist management or administration for them to take this top post. So there should be separate rank. Understood? They should allow specialists to rise to the highest level in their own domain without having to switch to general administration. Okay? And use of positional classification. Whatever you want, specific requirement should be posted, and that person should come. Not any one rank person should come. Okay? Introduction of fast track promotion schemes. This is what second as is saying. For high performing officers, you fast track their career progression so that they can reach to the higher level and contribute more. Because not every administrator is same. Right? Somebody works very hard, somebody does not work at all. So their progression can't be based on seniority. It should be fast track. Understood? Discipline. Now, discipline is of two types. First is the preventive discipline. This proactive approach focused on creating an environment that encourages ethical conduct and minimizes opportunities for misconduct. So, uh, for example, and the opposite of this is corrective discipline. If somebody has done something wrong, there is vigilance after that person, etc., etc. So, corrective measures is a punitive measure that is done. This is preventive in nature. Other one is punitive. To build a strong value system, for example, what do you say? Public service ethics. So public service ethics is there. If somebody is motivated with public service ethics, they want to contribute to society. So discipline will be very easier for them to impose or to impose on them because they themselves are very much motivated to be very ethical in nature, act towards society. Yes. See, issuing clear and comprehensive code of conduct, conducting training on ethics and integrity, promoting transparency in decision making, strengthening internal audit and vigilance systems. Simple. Then there are corrective disciplines, which are punitive in nature. Whatever discipline that are punitive in nature comes under this. Uh, to penalize the wrongdoer, deter others from similar misconduct, and maintain the integrity of the service. Okay? So, conducting formal disciplinary inquiries, imposing penalties such as suspending someone or certain monetary penalty are there. The Right to Public Service Act in Madhya Pradesh, we saw monetary penalty coming. It's one of those. And this discipline should be imposed on the basis of natural justice. You should hear both the sides through audi alternam partem, and that means you have to hear the other side, and nobody can be the judge of their own cases. Natural justice needs to be followed. Now, how does this work in India? There is civil services, central civil services conduct rule. There is all India service rules. Yes. So these things uh, expect you to act with integrity, etc. etc. Then comes second ARC recommendation on discipline. Streamline disciplinary proceedings. So, uh, in order to delay in proceedings were a major issue, it recommended time-bound disposal of cases to ensure speed and fairness. Establishing integrity units. This is important. Dedicated integrity units needs to be established within ministries to focus on preventive vigilance, monitor integrity, and address minor deviations before they become major issues. These integrity units will check in different scenarios how that person is acting, whom is that person talking to in the workplace, whether something wrong is going on or not. So they'll check whether these things are going ahead or not. Then simplifying uh, central civil services rules. So ARC suggested a simplification of complex procedure laid out in the central civil services rules. To do what? So that individual who is within that, who is working as a central civil servant or all India services, they know, okay, there are very few guidelines that person has to follow. If it is more complex, nobody can remember that always. Right? To simplify that, promote preventive vigilance through these integrity units. So we should focus more on prevention of any kind of wrongdoings rather than acting upon once that wrong has been committed. Santhanam committee, this is what led to Central Vigilance Commission. Okay, Central Vigilance Commission is also mentioned here. Now, this is the most important part of this particular unit called performance appraisal. Performance appraisal. Okay. Let's take a 5 minutes break. I need to. You want this? What? Yeah. will start. We'll quickly finish this and we'll write 2 3 answers. Yesterday we'll discuss how it's done. Performance appraisal. Have you heard the term performance appraisal? Basically, for example, you have done you have written a test. I see how you are doing in your test. I'm checking your performance. That is performance appraisal. Yes. So, for example, throughout a month, I see how much you have studied. Are your scores improving or not? What all areas you have weaknesses, etc. etc. That is performance appraisal. Okay? Of yours, not. So traditionally, this is where questions are repeated in this unit. Okay? Rest are just notes. This is where actual stuff happens. This is where actually UPSC asks you questions. The performance appraisal means checking how the performance is going. Okay? Traditionally, there was something called ACR, annual confidential report. For example, whatever you have worked in a year, your senior will check whether you have worked well or not. How much uh, the senior will check whether you have worked well or not, or how much you have actually where all you have done wrong, and it is secret in nature. You don't get to see it. Nobody else get to see it. Senior can write anything they want. There is no checks and balances that whether somebody verifies something or not. That is why it promoted a culture that a junior used to, do a lot of bootlicking of the senior. Because obviously, in the hand of senior, everything of the junior depends. Yes. So if a senior is asking them to do something unreasonable in nature, the junior would do that because his job, his promotion, his career progression depends on the review of the senior. This is a problem. In annual confidential report, for decades, ACR was the primary tool for evaluation. It was characterized by secrecy. The report was confidential, and the officer being assessed was often not shown the final ratings or remarks. Whatever you have been marked, you won't know whatever you have been marked. Subjectivity. It was subjective. That, for example, in you, I like some quality, and some other person I do not like some quality. That means you all, you have to be. You are at the mercy of the senior. Yes. Then there is no feedback. If you do not know your result, what feedback will you get? So senior can write anything and there is no feedback. You are not improving upon it. And it's a top-down approach. Senior decides whatever is being done. Now there is a change called annual performance appraisal report. APAR. From ACAR, we have reached to APAR. What is this? This, it promotes transparency. Transparency and feedback is there. So the final appraised report is now disclosed to the officer. For example, whatever this appraisal is, it's disclosed to you. Okay? You have the right to make a representation against any adverse remark. If I have written something bad about you, you have a right. It's more like natural justice. Hear the other part. Yes. So you start writing those terms. Audi alteram partem means hear the other side. If you just write this in your bracket, it will enhance the answer for it. Then self-assessment. So you yourself assess your performance also. So this is a long-term process. I assess your performance. You assess your performance. It's just not just one sheet of paper, multiple sheets of paper. Process begins with the officer filling out a self-assessment, detailing their achievement against a preset target. Then participatory nature is there. It is a multi-stage process of reporting, reviewing, and final acceptance by a higher authority. There is no individual bias. So 360-degree it has been done. You and me, we are writing your report, and people around you, whoever you work with, your peers, your juniors, that means everybody writes a review about you. That's a more holistic. That is why 360-degree feedback mechanism this is. Outcome is focus on outcome. So rather than being subjective, it is more objective because a lot of people are involved in giving an opinion about it. So the emphasis has shifted from assessing personality trait to evaluating performance. Whatever targets or task you have been assigned to, you are given that. You are assessed based on your outcome rather than what kind of a person you are. Okay? Now, Peter Drucker, it talks about management by objective. So, if you are judged by the outcomes of your work, so that is your objective. So, management by objective is being followed here, right? Clearly. Then Chris Argyris, participatory system. Whatever Argyris said, that all kind of management should be participatory in nature. So, it is not anymore top down; it is more participatory. So your juniors will write a review about you. Your senior will write a review about you. You yourself will write a review about you. So it's a more holistic. It's more feedback based. It's more system 4 type of management. Theory Y management style. See, Douglas McGregor, theory Y. It shifts from theory X to theory Y style of management. Okay. Second ARC only recommended replace ACR with APAR. Then introducing 360-degree appraisal. 360 means your senior, you yourself, your subordinate, your peers. Everyone will give a review about you. 360 means the whole circle. You are at the center. There is your senior, your peers, your junior. All of them give a review about you. So, for example, this means you also write a review about me on my API. Then my senior also write a review about me. So it's like that. Linking appraisal to human resource function. So if that appraisal shows that you are lacking something, that means training, you should be trained in that. That is what it makes sense. Simply saying that you lack this does not make any sense. So government needs to fix this. That the management needs to fix this. This is a particular lacuna that you have, and this needs to be fixed. Promote result framework document RFD system. It says the report suggested, secondarily suggested a system of to assess departmental outcomes objectively. RFD was a tool to move from activity based to result based monetary system. Rather than monitoring what all activity do you do, it is mentioned that what under you organization has achieved what all outcomes. So outcome orientation is again focused here. Linking individuals' performance to larger goals of the department. If the department is not improving, however good you may be, it does not matter because your job is not getting completed. Yes. Hota committee also recommended the similar things. Second ARC just put it in a better way. You can skip these. Second ARC is enough. Performance management and evaluation system. Now, what does this say? This is particularly introduced by the Cabinet Secretariat. This was done, so RFD method was introduced in all of the different uh, institutions across. So this led to what? This led to everybody focusing on those organizational goals. Okay, RFD. Now, in 2014, this was recommended by second ARC, Civil Services Board. That Civil Services Board will check whether or not, will check everything, that whether you have been, why your promotion is happening, why your promotion is not happening, why your transfers are taking place, etc., etc. This is what Civil Services Board will take care of. Okay? And they'll review the APARs of officer, how they can be improved, etc., etc. Now comes the point of promotion. The rest are very easy. And in that ethics part, I'll give you certain readings also apart from the class. I'll give you some readings also too. Rabe, are you able to understand everything till now? Okay. Huh. Now, don't you think a good promotion system will keep a person motivated because he knows his performance is linked to promotion? Without that, a person won't work. He'll only focus on licking up to his senior. Yes, that boot licking attitude will be there. That is why promotion needs to be very transparent in nature. So, a sound promotion policy is very much required that recognizes the reward and merit and service of an employee should be there based on his performance. Second, it ensures that organization is placing its most competent, experienced people in important positions. Yes. Next, so the question is, who should be promoted? Not seniority. Merit should be promoted. Now, the problem with merit is that whoever is meritorious, who decides who is meritorious? So sometimes patronage can be seen as meritorious. That if a minister thinks that you are very good and in reality your work is not so well, so you are not so meritorious in nature. So why it is easy to promote through seniority? Because it is very objective and simple. Itna year of service, you get promoted. It will boost morale that okay, we have worked so long, we should get something. It will boost the morale. It will reduce the conflict. Somebody won't question that why that person was promoted. Even I have also done a good job. Cons are mediocrity is promoted. Somebody is not working very well, mediocre, that is promoted. Discourages young talent. A young person won't work very hard because he knows with time he'll get promoted, not with his actions. Then dead wood rises. For example, certain senior employees who are not very good at their job, they are dead wood, they still rise. That is why merit is important. It encourages performance, it's a powerful incentive. Similarly, it will enhance efficiency and it will attract talent. Okay? Now, the cons are subjectivity. What do you consider meritorious? How do you measure meritorious? APR system might be very holistic in nature, but it might not show a lot of things. Yes, your seniors and junior being more friendly with you, they might write a good review about it. This APR system is not foolproof. Then it is demoralizing. For seniors who have given a lot of years to service, it will be very demoralizing if they see their juniors being promoted, because it's a very demoralizing thing. For example, if somebody has worked for 10 years and another person who has worked for 6 years, that 6 year person becomes the boss of that 10 years. Okay? Then the administration will be very much toxic in nature. And the measurement challenge is there, of course. How do you measure merit? Seniority measurement is very easy. Now, what second ARC is saying, linking promotions to training and performance. We have discussed this before under training. Move towards merit come seniority principle. That means seniority should be the first factor. Within seniority, you will see who is meritorious. Then only give them promotion. See, seniority should be the eligibility zone, that you are eligible for promotion. That should be seniority. Within the seniority, merit should be there. So seniority come merit. Okay. Establish an independent civil services authority. This has now been realized under Civil Services Board. We have seen. Okay, this Civil Services Authority checks whether or not promotion is happening in the same way, training is being done in the same way, etc. Introduce competency mapping. What is competency mapping? How well, whether this person is actually competent or not, how the training is improving his competency with time, that competency mapping. You skip the rest of the committees. Then comes pay and service condition. Now, how should pay, salary, etc. be decided? It should be adequate for the person. It should not be less. Else, that person will seek money from outside. It will promote corruption, because you are not taking care of the daily thing or day-to-day activities that they are doing. So, see, principles. Fairness and equity should be there when it comes to pay. Adequacy should be there. Good money should be paid to them. And incentive for performance should be there. If you are performing well, there are some rewards that are given to you. See, the service condition, for example, medical benefits, leave policy, giving you certain leave for vacations and all, these are provided. And that is why it keeps the morale and motivation up. Okay. So you must have seen that recently eighth pay commission is coming. And eighth pay commission will revise the salaries according to inflation and pay those officials much more as compared to the present seventh pay commission. Then apart from this, the another important thing is what all scholars are important, how motivation is there. FW Herzberg we apply the hygiene factor and the motivator factors. So the government should focus on both of these factors. We should improve the hygiene factors also and the motivators also. We should give them certain rewards, recognition, okay, and take care of their day-to-day activities. Okay, the lower order needs that Abraham Maslow says. This needs to be fulfilled, or else, if this is not fulfilled, corruption will be promoted. And if this is not fulfilled, motivation won't happen. You can see how Maslow is applied here. So, similar logic. See, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, what does second ARC say? These are very simplistic, right? Straightforward things. Introduce performance-linked incentive scheme. Whatever performance you do, you get extra money or extra reward for that. Encourage non-monetary incentive. Why so? What is this non-monetary incentive appealing to? Those higher order needs, motivators, such as recognition, rewards, public recognition, awards, flexible working condition, okay, giving important assignments to you, bigger responsibilities. Yes. Simplification of service rules. There is not a lot of service rules for you to take headache off. Similarly, rationalization of pay structure. That position classification should be there. What position, whatever position you are working in, that money should be paid to you, not because of your rank, because of your position. Example C. Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration is provided. So that takes care of those higher order needs for recognition. Performance related pay is there. It is not fully implemented, but in certain PSUs, this is provided to the management of PSUs. Now, employer-employee relationships. Employer-employee relationship is like whatever the government and the uh, what do you say, private body, the government and private body, sorry, the government and the employee, whatever relation they have is employer-employee relationship. Now, in this relationship, this needs to be healthy, or else in a toxic work culture will develop. Okay. Now, how does that look like? How does employer-employee relationship can be improved? Whose ideas will be relevant? Human relation theorist. Elton Mayo says, you treat people like humans, not as machines, and you treat them as end in themselves, not as means to achieve an end. So you should treat humans within the organization with a lot of compassion. You should take care of their needs, and they'll take care of your needs. Okay. Hawthorne studies that employee satisfaction and socio-psychological factors are very much important for and critical for productivity. Hawthorne studies showed this. Similarly, systems theory. Now, for equilibrium to be established, internally, those subsystems, so administration or bureaucracy is a subsystem within the government system. That subsystem has to work very well so that environmental factors to be managed. Okay, so equilibrium to be established. Now, how does in India we manage this? Okay, there is something called joint consultative mechanism. Now, this was a recommendation of the second pay commission, very back, way back. So, recommended is a three-tier body designed to promote harmonious relation and secure cooperation. So, whatever the administrative bodies, whatever those personnel have problems, they can directly go ahead and address those problems. Yes. Then there is National Council, an apex body dealing with matters related to all central government employees. So, this apex body is there to see whether the salary is fine or not, etc., etc. Now, apart from this, there is something called staff council, union, or association. There are civil services, for example, IPS association is there. Now, they say to the government, they need these things. Their employees, right? They need these changes, etc., etc. To promote, what do you say? To promote better working condition, okay? More motivation is required. Collective bargaining. Now, under this joint consultative mechanism, joint means what? The employer sits and the employee sits, and this consultation happens that how things should be done. Collective bargaining. Okay. Collective bargaining is done. What does second ARC say? Report. They recommended strengthening the JCM mechanism to make it more effective and vibrant for dialogue rather than just a place for grievances. So they say these JCMs should meet continuously. Every month they should meet. They should discuss whatever issues that are going on. The employer should discuss whatever issue it has with employees. Basically, it's a table where both of them sit. Foster open communication channel, open and so these both can be combined as a points. Promote participative management. Suggested moving from a more moving towards a more participative style of management, so that employee satisfaction is more. Okay? Whatever we studied under participative management theory, all of those apply here. And there should be strengthened grievance redressal forum. So this is what second ARC will say. A lot of points are very repetitive in nature. You skip all of them. Now, a important judgment for you to remember. So under all of these topics, judgments are also very important. Okay? There are few judgments. If you see some judgment applies anywhere, write those judgments. Okay? Judgments you can easily openly write all of those things. T. Rangarajan versus Government of Tamil Nadu. In this judgment, the Supreme Court says the government employees have no fundamental, statutory, or moral right to strike, because whatever government functions you do, these are public functions, and these are very important functions to be carried out. Okay, they have no fundamental or moral authority to go on strike. The court reasoned that a strike by public servant disrupts public services, causes hardship to the citizens, which goes against the very ethos of public service. Yes? So that is why they can protest but not strike. That means protest means uh, address the grievances against. Strike means stopping the work. It creates a lot of problems. Okay? Now, next topic is grievance redressal mechanisms. GRMs. What are these GRMs? What is grievance redressal mechanism? Hmm. For example, you are facing a problem in this class. One. You have a grievance, you address to me. If you still have a grievance, you address to the admin team, etc. So that means there has to be some framework that in which you address the grievances. Okay. Now see, what does this promote? It promotes fairness, because that very idea of natural justice or the alternate pattern, it promotes fairness. It resolves the conflict, improves the morale, and the feedback is there. For example, you say, in my method of teaching, there are some problems that are there. So you take up that grievance. Now I know as a feedback, okay, these all problems are there, and I can improve on that. Okay. Then upholding rule of law. How so? If you have a problem, you can go ahead and address. And what do you say? All of these administrative actions, all of those rules and etc., will regulate those things. That means ये ऑफलाइन चला गया है ना there is a trolley problem. Okay, I'll explain this trolley problem to you. Now imagine this is a rail track. Okay, now here is an intersection. Train is coming from here. Now there is one person who is lying here, unconscious, and there are 5 person lying here unconscious. 5x. 5 people are lying here unconscious. You understand this problem? Okay, you understand this scenario? Now, first I'll discuss a second scenario and then we'll come back to this. Second scenario is the same rail track is there and there are 5 people who are tied here or 5 people are lying unconscious. Train is coming. Okay, train is coming from this side. Train is coming. Now there is a bridge over this. Here there is a bridge. Okay. You are standing on this bridge and there is a very fat man who is standing on this bridge. Okay. Now you can see if you push this fat man, okay, the train will stop. Okay. Why are you laughing? You need to be serious. These are real problems. These are ethical problems. Okay. So these are not my creations. Okay. You need to understand. These are not my creation. If you push that fat man, the train stops. And you save these 5 people. So you have to push that fat man. Would you push that fat man? What? You'll have to answer this. He will die, but those 5 people will be saved. You'll push. Yes? But what if I say the people who are sitting below, sitting there, they are very, those are criminals or terrorists. And this fat man is a very good man. He has children, a lot of people depend on him. And these people are terrorists. Would you still push that fat man? No, right? That means it is not always the greater number that influences us. There is something better than that. Okay? Now let's come to this trolley problem. This person is lying here. Now you are the operator. In your hand, there is an operator. You can either shift the train towards this or towards this. Here, 5 people are lying. And here, one person is lying. All of them unconscious. Would you let the train go this way or would you divert the train towards this? Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Here, 5 people are lying. Here, there is just one person who is lying. Okay, this is cancelled. So the train is moving. It is going on the straight track. No changes are there. But there are 5 people who are unconscious. And in your hand, here 5 people unconscious are laying. In your hand, there is something, so you can redirect the train where one person is lying there unconscious. Would you redirect the train or you will let things happen? You will redirect the train. Why? You have to save greater number of people. Utilitarian basic principle. But again, if I say those 5 people are actually very bad people, and on this person, a lot of family members, a lot of children, they depend. He's a social worker, etc. Would you still do that? You won't do that. That means utilitarianism has a problem. It is not necessary that always greatest number is correct. Yes. That is why there is a difference between democracy and majoritarianism. Are you able to understand? Always the majority might not be right. Always the greatest number might not be right. This is what Aristotle will say. Aristotle will say the problem with democracy is democracy does not take care of correct methods or does not ensure that correct people are in power. It just ensures popular people are in power. And this is an inherent problem in democracy. Are you able to understand? So, by this problem, what do we understand? That sometimes greatest number, greater good for the greatest number is the best thing to do. Some other times it might not be. Now, imagine that trolley problem again. You do not know who they are. You change the train track or you push the fat man. One person dies, 5% are saved. Then after that, till that time, according to deontological ethics, you have done something that is right. Yes? You have done something right. According to utilitarian principle, you might have done something right, might not have done something right. Why? Because you might have saved those 5 people, but those 5 people are terrorists. And so, what does teleological approach say? This teleological approach, whatever the outcome is, if you have killed a good man and saved 5 bad men, the outcome of your action is bad. But what does the Kantian ethics say? Duty-based approach. Whatever action you took in the best possible sense, without knowing the consequence of it. That is why your actions are good. Your actions are ethical in nature. This focuses on the outcome. So greatest good for the greatest number. For example, that those 5 terrorists might go ahead and kill other people. So more lives are lost. That good person, that fat man that you pushed, you were readily available, you were ready to push that person. That person might be a very good doctor who will save a lot of lives. That means outcome is important when it comes to teleology. Next idea is something called virtue ethics. Character based. It was what Aristotle said. It focuses on the inherent character and moral excellence of the individual rather than the action or consequence. Basically, you ask yourself, what would a virtuous person do? Whatever I am doing, is it virtuous in nature? Is this the right thing to do? So, what would, for example, if you are honest with yourself, you are with integrity, those are virtue. Okay, whatever good things you have. Now, for example, let me explain this virtue ethics to you very well. Now, Aristotle gave this idea that what is a good knife? There is a knife. What is a good knife? Which cuts properly, right? That means whatever function that knife carries out, that function should be perfect. What is the job of a knife? To be sharp and cut properly, right? So, what horse is a good horse? That runs fast and for longer. That means whatever what it is to be a virtuous. What is the virtue in a knife? Sharpness. What is the virtue in a horse? Fast. What is a virtue in a human being? There must be some qualities, right, that makes a virtuous human being, a good human being. If we list down those qualities, and while taking an action, you keep in mind those qualities, that means those are virtuous actions. So in those minds, if you write down simply the Nolan Committee recommendations, so those are virtue. These are human virtues: honesty, integrity, okay, openness. So these are virtues, right? Selflessness. These are virtues. If you follow those virtues and you take an action, that action invariably will be a good action. and ethical action. So these things needs to be inculcated into the administration of the country. Now, John Rohr, he's a uh, primary moral duty of public administrator is loyalty to the regime values embedded in the nation's constitution. So rather than just following the political leaders, whatever a public servant should do, it should follow uh, whatever constitutional principles or values are there. So, an ethical administrator is one whose actions are always in alignment with the constitutional principle of justice, equality, liberty. Don't you think this? That if a politician is asking you to do corruption and you are not doing it, you are going against the political orders. That means what? You are following the constitution. You are ensuring a rule of law. Yes. Dwivedi and Jabra, they will say something. They'll say uh, ethics is not an abstract concept but a practical necessity that ensures public interest is served. It promotes social equity and builds public trust. The very idea of social capital we studied. Social capital is created when the what do you say? When people start trusting the government, social capital is created. So second ARC, same things. National Ethics Commission, codification of the code of ethics should be there. Anti-corruption institutions such as Lokpal and Lokayukt should be there. Value-based training, that you train civil servants in those values, those Sevottam values. Yes, and then promotion of social accountability. How so? Citizen charter, social audit, etc., etc. Very simple. Now under this, you can give certain examples of Satyendra Dubey. So he exposed a large-scale corruption that was going on in the in the Golden Quadrilateral project, and that person was killed. Satyendra Dubey, being I guess he was the Indian Engineering Service officer serving in MHA. He exposed those corruptions, and he was killed. This shows that ethics or for promotion of ethics, upholding constitutional values, you should always be ready even to pay the price of your life. Okay? That is what public service motivation is. All right? Are you able to understand? Okay. So this was what do you say? Personal administration. In those ethics part, I'll give you certain readings for your extra reading. The rest we have covered. So you write down a question. We'll just practice one question today. All right. Regulation is old but increasingly necessary mode of social coordination and political intervention into societal processes. Regulation is an old but increasingly necessary mode of social coordination and political intervention into societal processes. Examine it in the context of globalization. Uh, into societal processes. Examine it in the context of globalization. It's a bit tough question, but think, take your time and think. Just think about how regulation is changing with globalization. What forms of regulations are changing? What are these emerging things that we are regulating? How rules and regulations of the government are impacting, are being impacted through changes due to globalization. Think on those lines. Just coming to this. Shall we discuss? What all have you written?
The introduction is importance of regulation in era globalization
Correct.
as a private firms are increasing.
Regulation is old but increasingly necessary mode of social coordination. So even though regulation is old, it's an age-old process that governments have been regulating the personal and private and all kinds of activities in the society. It is an increasingly necessary mode of social coordination and political intervention into societal process. Whatever processes is going on in the society due to globalization, it might be at a personal level. Those processes might be related to uh, at a personal level with globalization, with the rise of social media, things are going. Businesses have shifted to transnational operations. Similarly, there are new problems that are arising for which the government has to regulate. For example, new emerging technologies such as cryptocurrencies. They bring in new challenges, societal challenges due to rise in social media and especially channels such as Reddit or dark web. It creates new forms of crimes also. Yes. Similarly, in a regulatory institution such as SEBI, they check whether stock market is not used to take away money from the Indian public. So, with globalization, these social processes, these societal processes that are going on, these societal processes are increasingly being regulated. Similarly, market processes. The market is also a part of society. Here in the bracket, you can simply write that organizational processes are social processes, as Mary Parker Foley says. Now, in market, the problem that the market is solving is that the market is not allowing, sometimes the market can monopolize itself. It can create a form of power structure that harms the public. Are you able to understand? This harms the public and it results in something called, it results in a painful set of, what do you say? It, 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 it results in a system where constitutional protections are done away with and only client interests are served. To safeguard from this, whatever limitations of NPM we wrote, you put this inside it. And whatever good parts of new public service, new Iberian state, digital era governance we brought in, that regulation of digitization needs also to be done. Okay, so regulation changes according to all of this. What else did the question ask? Just read out the question again.
Regulation is old but increasingly necessary mode of social coordination and political intervention.
Similarly, now when it comes to regulation, governance, how governance has changed due to globalization, you also write that. How governance has changed? Governance is more networked now. A lot of actors are there. So government has to regulate their functions as well. So regulatory state at the present day state, which is a regulatory state, it is not cannot take India back to something called license Raj or something. It has to focus more on what do you say? It has to focus mostly on facilitating economic growth. Okay. Similarly, a regulation in terms of when it comes to international trade. So international trade, international tariffs are affecting uh, the economy. So government has to regulate the private industry and the domestic industry in such a way that they can save themselves from these international onslaughts. Okay. So basically, whatever changes that the globalization is bringing to society and how government is regulating those changes, it has to be put in. Okay. Uh, just write another question. Just brainstorm it. Globalization. Globalization has constructed the administrative state to save and serve corporate power structure. This is the statement. Full stop. Discuss how transnational corporations or multinational corporations, whatever, MNCs, impact government and public administration in the contemporary era. Brainstorm this. Yes. Done. What was the question? Can you repeat?
Globalization has constructed the administration state to serve the corporative power structure.
What all have you written?
Due to globalization, the rise of the private corporations, as they are beneficial to the country, the government is serving their needs.
Hmm. Then what all points in the body?
Body, the impact of transnational companies.
Impact of transnational company. Yes. How
Through its policies, its policies.
which thinker will you write in this? A very important thinker. Something who said about something about public interest. Karl Marx, interest of the bourgeoisie in the name of public interest, right? You'll write that thinker. And what else? Wait, let me see. What question was that exactly? Globalization has constructed the administrative state to save and serve corporate power structure. Discuss how transnational. Now, you can also mention in this something called how transnational corporations, such as think of different sectors, how they uh, impact public administration and governance. Think of big consultancies such as Bain, BCG, McKinsey. They act as uh, policy consultants to them. Policy consultants, they they tweak whatever policy requirements are there, and they are inherently the policy makers for the government. So their work essentially is regarding, even though they are there to advise, but they act as a lobby group for this. Similarly, don't take only the example of India in this case. See what happens in US. In US, big oil, big data, big tech, they are very much interested in the American presidency and who becomes the president. So that means these lobby groups, these defense lobby groups, for example, Lockheed Martin is a multinational company. Yes, Rafael, Dassault is a multinational company. How they influence, right? These things, how they influence. What do you say? How they influence government policies, even though government would not want to go, or the public interest would not allow countries to go to war, but these companies will push the country, uh, or I mean, for example, Lockheed Martin will pay a lot of sum to the US government to start some conflict somewhere, so that its weaponry is there to showcase and there to sell for more defense orders. Similarly, if you change it to oil companies would not want the government to push into some green initiatives. Yes, so they'll lobby against it. Similarly, if you change the sector, for example, big tech will never want things such as personal data protection to come in, or Google's equalization levy to come in. So it allows big tech to function more freely. Yes. So you can write how, thinking about particular sectors, how they impact. Okay, understood? Okay. Let's end the class here. You understand these, right?